Welcome to Cannabis School. I'm your host, Jesse Angeles.
And I'm Brandon Elder.
And we're here to talk to you about everything pertaining to cannabis, from vape,
flower,
edibles,
strains,
and everything in between.
Well, welcome back, kids.
Hey-de-ho.
So we wanted to ask you, because we keep getting a lot of comments, a lot of responses, and we're starting to see a lot of bullshit in the media.
Oh my God. Thank you, CNN.
Yeah, fuck you guys.
A big fuck you guys.
THC, is it too high?
What are your thoughts?
Because this is a debate that many connoisseurs, cannabis culture, potheads, all alike, unite. We know that there's a lot of stories around that talk about, oh, well, the percentages were so much lower back in the day in the 70s and 80s.
Oh, yeah.
They're
back
only
in the
brought
60s.
up
and
to get more people hooked on it.
Oh, there's that one, or like that it's drastically way too high now, and that they have noticed because there's people who are like, oh, I tried it back in the 60s and 70s, and it was just chill, and now I smoke it, and I just go into panic attacks.
So we want to talk a little bit more about the depth, the science, the results, the ways that they obtain data, and ultimately what it really means to you as a cannabis consumer, either a legacy one or even those who are barely dabbling in it. You know, a lot of this, like Brandon and I have been talking, we just had a great conversation with a local dispensary owner and grower, and we were talking about that, where there's this big push on high percentage THC being extremely harmful for you. And I will agree with that. High amounts of THC pretty consistently is it can lead to a causation of problems. It's not a correlation that it will hurt your heart, cause a stroke, or anything like that. But there are causations that go towards them. But there's a lot of factors that people forget, especially the media. There was a big one over there. We'll attach the article that was sent to me about why they think it is. And what we want to do today is not necessarily debunk. We want to educate you. It's the same as anything out there. Look, you wouldn't drink 4 gallons of water sitting there. You'd kill yourself.
Yeah, well, you can die on literally every other thing
you
far.
You could eat a fuck ton of carrots and die, probably.
Yeah. Well, that one I'm sure, because you can overeat anything.
Yeah.
But even water, you can consume too much and die. Even air, you can die from air. Yeah. Cannabis is still that one that they haven't found the LD-50, at least as far as I'm aware. Mm-mm. If you guys do know what the LD-50 is, it's the study of halfway through the testing of, I think, lab rats, basically, that 50% of the test subjects die or anything. They've never found any dose for that, even in the lab rats. So they were hypothesizing for humans, it was like 10 to 15,000 1-gram joints in a 15-minute period may kill a human.
Dude, that reminds me of junior high when this is back in the late 80s, early 90s, but when I was in junior high, and it was fucking hilarious because they did this whole thing for Dare Week. You remember Dare Week?
Oh my God,
right?
yeah. For
old enough, you know Dare Week. But they made this like giant thing with like butcher paper across the wall, and they all drew these things, and they drew headstones of people dying from drugs, and one of them said, "Smoke too much marijuana," and all of the guys who had long hair and listened to like Skid Row and Rat and Guns N' Roses, they're like, fucking idiots. Because all these kids were stoned. But here, I wanted to kind of talk about that with you, Ben, and you've got a lot of information, but you know, this is the old school weed, right? 70s to 90s. So the average THC content in the 70s was 1.5 to 3%. In the 80s, it was 3 to 4. 90s, 4 to 6. But that's skewed, isn't it? Because on modern weed,
potentially 4 to 7. But even then, it's hard because it might also depend on where that was found, where it was tested from. A lot of it came from the University of Missouri and other like collected sources of just DEA seizures and stuff that had happened. So a lot of it wasn't even stored properly. So oxidization and light can degrade THC percentages over time. So then when they finally went to test it, they used old dated technology with like a gas chromatography method, which also degrades the THC percentages in that testing process. So it's a very hard to calculate our exact percentages over the years. But the thing that I kind of talked about, because I made a post on TikTok the other day or on socials, and it's been kind of fun to see the commentary, was that change of THC percentages over the years, because now we're seeing a lot of like high 20s, 30%, mid 30s. We've even seen some high 30%, like 38% THC, and that's on flower. And so having that, they're not always the best experiences. It's not like highest THC is going to be your best experience, because when you grow to push for highest THC, you get rid of other cannabinoids. So you have less CBG, CBN, CBD, maybe a smaller spectrum of terpenes than you would hope for because of that. So as we've talked about before, the entourage effect is almost like a more complete high. And so if you're getting a smaller range of cannabinoids and terpenes, well, your complete high is probably going to be a little less complete than what it might have the potential of being if it did have that broader spectrum of cannabinoids and stuff. So it's looking back at all those people who used cannabis back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and going, hey, I'm sure your amazing experience from hash or flower or whatever, I'm sure it was exactly what you claim it was. But the THC percentage probably wasn't necessarily the same as it is today, and that's okay, because those two don't necessarily correlate, high THC percentage and best experience.
Well, and also the growing methods, because the growing methods are going to change drastically once you put a lot more botany into it instead of just green thumbing it. You can't just throw this shit in your garden like a tomato and expect it to yield the best quality cannabis out there.
Not at all.
Cannabis is an extremely delicate plant in many ways if you want it to be able to produce the high amount of cannabinoids that you're seeking.
She's a fickle mistress for sure.
She
yeah.
is a bitch. If you treat her horribly, she's going to treat you horribly. She doesn't take shit from anybody. But at the same time, to say that THC levels were higher now than then, yes, I believe that. When you look at concentrates, we didn't have concentrates in mass production now. Yeah, there was dab. Yeah, there was wax. There were things like that.
Well, and hash. Hash has been around for ages. Back in Afghanistan, Hindu mountains, all these things.
But they had high amounts of THC in there for sure, but we can't do it. Hey, real quick, we're actually going to break that one. Our friends over at
Stash,
some of the best grinders that we've been able to use.
This is the one we've been using on the show for
It's awesome. I've got a little one at house. I gave another one of mine away to my brother-in-law. He still uses it to this day. But they were so kind as to send us
They sent us so many goodies from their company. All their grinders. We've got the same one as mine in black. A hemp 3D printed plastic.
Look at this. This is cool.
Hemp plastic, dude.
This is cool on the sense of one. It just feels cool. It does. It doesn't feel as
it's a very tactile feeling to that one. I do enjoy that.
Now Brandon's running the boat.
Yeah, this one's like a party grinder.
Or
if you're making edibles, or if you're just hanging out with Brandon and need to smoke, this is the bad boy.
This looks like your old one. This looks like the other one.
That's what I said. It's the identical to that, just
in black. A little bit more branding
black.
on it.
Really?
I love it, dude. Yeah, see?
Oh, yeah, because this is... Oh, it's got a tiny one in the top, but it's slightly different.
So Brandon's got a good-sized nug here.
Oh, yeah. I guess you could say it's quite the nug.
Yeah, it's quite the nug. Now drop it into the new grinder. That's what I'm going to do. Because that thing, look at the deepest of that bowl, dude. That thing is massive. That's like a cereal bowl. Throw some fucking Cheerios in that.
Yeah, you could literally eat some soup, a bowl of cereal, maybe get some ice cream in there. Gelato. Oh, God.
Oh, dude, that's perfect. That's like a souffle dish.
I know. And it doesn't have a keef catcher, because who needs that?
Nope. Not me.
Dude, this thing is a beast.
Because it's got grip around the side. That's what's really cool. Brandon's going to try and he's going to get some squeakiness in there. When Brandon used to hear squeaking, he knew that his parents were finally stopped fighting.
Oh, my God. No, we thankfully had cement floors when I was a teenager in between the main floor, so you could not hear anything from upstairs to downstairs.
I had friends her parents would just get at it and they didn't care who there. And I remember one time we were in her basement watching TV and you could hear dang, dude. She probably came out with bruises on the top of her head. Yeah. She was like, wham, wham, wham.
She's like, I can't walk.
But one of the things that we've loved about Stash...
Charlie Murphy, what am I going to do about my legs?
Quality grinders, great build, easy to clean.
Like how they
and we've been friends with them for a while.
They don't have the blades or the diamond shape of a lot of grinders.
Yeah, they have these nubs.
Nubbins. They've got sweet nubbins.
Which is really nice on on certain aspects, it will really make a grind fine.
Well, it's supposed to not grind it. It's supposed to tear it apart nicely, so it doesn't.
But I find that with this, I get more powdery weed. So I'm curious on what we get on this one.
Yeah.
This beast.
Well, I mean, that one's all.
Can see that?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's all ground up.
I like it. It's almost like a gear.
I know.
Dude.
It feels totally different with those ridges versus the perfectly smooth.
Pull that out. That's cool. And it's, dude, you could literally grind. This is great. Like what you said, this is good for a party. Or you're just like, I just love deep bowls. Like, that's cool.
If you smoke a good amount.
That would, like, be overflowing.
Oh, yeah. Depends on the grinder. That small one, the little travel guy, that one probably would fill it up.
This one's cool. I like it just for the simple fact that this could be for almost anything. Psilocybin, cannabis, whatever, hemp if you're so inclined. But I love the build because look at that. No keef catcher, just right in. And it's perfect. It's a perfect size for when you're on the go. Dude, looks like a fucking hockey puck.
I know. That's why I thought it would be perfect for like just sticking in your little bag or something when you go camping. Like, it's the perfect to-go one.
Oh, man, this is so cool. So, we got a link or anything like that?
Yeah, the link will be in the show notes for Stash. Code will be in the show notes. Go check out Stash. Check out their dope grinders. They have fantastic products. They've got a battery for like a 510 thread.
Oh, yeah,
They apparently used to make an e-nail. They don't offer it anymore. But they had a post on Instagram and about it, and I was like, holy shit, I didn't know you guys made an e-nail. And they're like, well, we stopped. We found this one like back in the back somewhere. I was like, holy shit, I didn't know you guys even made those.
You know, I'm a big fan of Stash. I like really good grinders.
Yeah.
Shredders.
Yes.
I love those. Shredders are great. That's crazy.
This is interesting because it came for the new grinder, and it's like a rubbery one, and I don't know what that would do as far as like the experience on your flower, but it just fits the same spot.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't try it out right now, but it looks like it'd get dirty as fuck.
Okay, but look at this though. You know how we were talking about that smooth? Oh, this has it too actually. That line that separates the things that Shredder had. This has that same stuff.
But the rubber.
See the line? The rubber's nuts. It feels so weird. Do that.
What?
Yeah.
It almost feels like it doesn't belong.
No, it's so weird.
I love that bevel though, right there, so it keeps it from being sticky.
Fantastic.
I wonder if that would really help with wet weed.
Oh, yeah.
Because grinders tend to get really gummed up with your fresher. It's cured, it's dried, all that stuff. But we've got a lot of mad love for Dragonfly because they make some of the best weed we've ever.
So I never ever use my keef. And because we don't have much, because most of our stuff is pretty sticky.
Yeah.
It's pretty dank, and so I don't end up with most keef. So I really don't, I never care for a keef catcher much, because since I stopped shopping in Colorado, my products have stopped being so dry that I end up with a fuck ton of keef. I know that's terrible to say, but there's a lot of reality, like a lot of truth behind that.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't really think about that, but most of mine that was really dry was all Colorado flower I was getting.
I miss George Jetson. I finished her off. You know, still love these guys. Wish we could get a hold of them.
Yeah. If you guys have a favorite bong or a piece company,
it's like this.
Drop it in the comments below. We've loved George Jetson, but we haven't heard from them in a hot minute.
I don't know if they're busy. I don't know if they're still in business. I know a lot of our audience and our friends here that we get to share, like you, have loved them. They've gotten the big ones. They've gotten these little ones, which is fucking huge. But I got to tell you, it's one of the best bongs out there. But we are I know there's a lot of percolating bongs out there, but if you know of one or you own that company, reach out to us. All right, so back to it. On the percentage side, like the thing that really gets me is that article coming out, and this is somebody hit me up saying, hey, look, man, I'm really freaked out. I just got into cannabis. I'm using edibles, and I see this, and I'm in my late 40s. I don't want to have a heart attack or stroke. And I was like, okay, so here's some things that weren't considered in that factor. In that study, they gathered that from 2016 to 23.
Okay.
And it was across the world, which means it wasn't a concise study. It was random studies grabbed. We don't have all the data. They don't have dosing. They don't have times of using the cannabis. their premorbidity conditions.
Well, and the thing I'm curious on is it's not a long-term study of, hey, these people had used cannabis for this long. Here's their twin who didn't use. Here's their twin who did use. And we're like seeing or sibling or closest relative that we can find so we can have like comparisons or like the closest thing to any sort of double blind, like any sort of data that makes sense. It's probably all been compiled, like you said, from different sources, but I would look at that and go, it's probably not been a data of like, hey, this was tested for heart things. It was like, hey, this person went to the hospital for this, and they also used cannabis.
Using cannabis, yes.
And so it's like, okay, well, that's not the same thing as a study of like, hey,
we followed this guy for this many years.
And we noticed that due to just cannabis use, because nothing else in his life, he lived the most healthy lifestyle, diet, sleep, exercise, mental health, all of that was perfectly in line. So, like, how many of those are we actually tracking? And I would guess that the percentage is 0.
Well, and it just goes down to everything else, right? If it bleeds, it leads. So where social media or anything like that, if it takes storm, if there was a study out there that says smoking cannabis at percentages higher than 15% will make your dick bigger, it would sell out tomorrow.
Oh my God, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
It'll make your tits bigger.
Well, just that comment alone, we probably already did sell out anything above 15%.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, you think about it, like when people start getting so hyped up about what somebody said instead of really looking into the research, right?
Yeah.
That, like, you have it in the palm of your hand. It can be free. Just simply go to chat and say, give me a no bullshit about the history of cannabis and how it's hurt people. Now, again, I'm going to go into that, right? Let's look at the other side of this coin. Yes, it can cause problems. High concentrate THC is not good for your heart.
Well, and we kind of talked about that because long-term stress patterns that we've seen in, like, my dad or other people who have had long-term stress where it's like, hey, your blood pressure is insanely high and your heart cannot handle this long-term. It will rupture, burst. You will have complications happen from that. And I would wager that if people are doing 1 gram dabs constantly, if they're putting their heart in this crazy, overworked, overstressed state, like you said, even marathon runners or things could have that long-term. So if you look at these long-term things of, hey, is it more just what is the stress that we're putting on our heart? Is it more than what it really should have long-term? Like, yes, it's great. Our body can do amazing things, but is that amazing thing necessarily the best thing for us in 30, 50, 60, 100 years from now?
Well, and that goes to the point of, like, your higher amounts of THC, such as dabs. Like, dabs, I'm a big fan of. I love dabs.
Oh, yeah.
I love them for what they are. Now, some of the drawbacks on dabs for me, if it's not a lot, it doesn't last. And I get a lot of THC all at once, but I don't need to use as much. But you can end up chasing that dragon. And why I say that, I used to start with like tiny bits of dab.
Yes.
Now I do a little glob.
But you've
like
also
the size of a booger.
Because you started at the point of like 1 pen hit was good. Now it's not 1 pen hit anymore. So I look at that most of the time and it's like, yeah, it has gone up, but is your glob my glob size? Are you? No. So, I look at it and I'm like,
but it is
still.
I mean, and that shows with a lot of people, like those who only have access to concentrates just because they're blessed, you're going to run up a high tolerance pretty quickly. So that's a negative side. Also, the high heart rate of different strains can hurt your heart over long periods of time.
Especially if you're doing larger doses.
Totally.
Like, because you can do the small dose like we did at the beginning where it was like, hey, just take the tiny pinhead size. And your dab was super small.
Tiny.
And then it's the same as like a pen hit, So that is an ability that you do have still, but it's...
even flour can go the same route. I mean, you remember I have jars, bags of decarboxylated flour sitting in a dark cabinet right now. That's another thing. If you got decarb flour, don't be letting that shit sit out with everything. Put it in a dark place. But the amount of THC that is available today, yes, it is a lot higher because we're able to test better. and we actually know. It's impossible to be able to take older data. It's saying the same thing, right? Like, it's like how some Christian faiths, not just Mormons, but they'll go, oh yeah, well, dinosaur bones aren't real. They were put here by Satan.
Yeah, I
and
think
you're
those
like,
are the funniest.
What? And you're like, that doesn't make any sense. But that was based off of a belief.
Just to test you,
And that's where I think that there's this really fine line between data, actual facts, and belief.
Yeah.
And belief, because it's emotional, I think that's why it leads people to being so afraid whenever the media, who has some type of special interest involved,
oh yeah,
to strike that down.
Well, it's the fear. It's that, hey, if we can manipulate this, like if we can say this, how many people are getting into cannabis now? Like we look at even Texas, and Texas has only hemp-derived products and THCA. And yet they're in, was it a $2 or $3 billion industry just in Texas alone in the last couple years,
hemp,
without having real cannabis there.
And imagine.
No, that's
one of the largest pre-primed markets for cannabis. When they do, and I truly believe that Texans, it'll happen sooner, maybe later. But anyways, I mean, it's already happening later. There's more of a black market in Texas too. I bet the black market probably 10x's whatever they're making in hemp.
I would think
20x
so, because I have a friend down, not in Texas, but in Florida. And I guess I have friends in Texas too. But in Florida, he was talking about it, and they have kind of very similar things where it's all like the hemp-derived shit that he's getting unless you have a medical card. I'm like, well, why don't you get a medical card? Because it's probably like $25-$30 down there. And he's like, well, we might be moving back to Utah, so I just don't know if I'm going to get it yet. I'm like, that's horrible. I would get it in a heartbeat. I got a medical card when I was in California for a week because I was like, the area I'm in only has medical.
Yeah, that's Oceanside. That sucked.
I could pay $50, get a medical card, and then have cannabis delivered to me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, cool, I'd do that. And I did, and it was great because I paid like $50-$60 an eighth for 2 different eighths, but it, it's out in the middle of nowhere, California. Like you get what you get.
But I mean, that's the thing too. Like, we do know the gray market is there, and a lot of them push carts and THC percentages, and that's another thing. You have to remember that your pen, I got one with me. Your pen is concentrates. This is high concentrated THC. This is not this isn't what the plant was meant to produce. But because they can concentrate it, that's where dabs and these come into play.
These not even the same as like...
Not even close.
Because they used to have hashes and other concentrates, but they were naturally made and they didn't have the same chemicals and stuff. So you can get like a very clean hash, but it's way harder to find.
And it's more expensive because it's now it's craft. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, it's like what Brandon and I have been talking about. Like, I love dabs. I do. I like it. We've had some amazing partners, Dr. Dabber, Bomb. You guys are amazing.
Oh, we'll have those links below. Yeah. 710 is coming up. Ooh, if you are in Utah, there's a Dragonfly event where you can go get a Puffco pivot for the cost of a Puffco pivot.
That's like 130, 160
130. You can get your medical card in Utah for $50.
$50.
And you can get a gram of their like Super Boo for live rosin concentrate, or of their concentrate
for $1.
$1.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So you get the pivot.
If you're not there in Utah buying that shit,
I know.
Get the fuck out.
Yeah, and if you are driving by, just come up. Be like, oh my God, my leg hurts.
Yeah, just say, hey, Cannabis School sent us. Where did we get our Puffco Pete? Because we want a $1.
Oh, pivot. Dude. Puffco pivot.
Puffco pivot.
And then they're doing giveaways for like the Puffco Peak, some other stuff. We're going to be chilling, hanging out. So come stop by Dragonfly up in Salt Lake.
That's going to be cool. But even the concentrate, because that was a really cool conversation. This is kind of somewhat spiked this conversation was we were having a conversation with Dragonfly. And as we were talking about it, like, we've used their concentrate. It's pricey, people. So fucking pricey. Especially from, you've got a plug where you're being able to get dab for like, what?
15
bucks. $20 a gram, and you're buying it for $70 for a gram, 80, 90 sometimes.
But I will say the ones that I'm like, if you're looking at a $20 plug gram, you're probably getting like a batter, a butter.
Yep.
Not a live rosin, not a live
Nope.
resin. And if I'm paying, even at Dragonfly, their $80 gram was Superboof live rosin.
And the quality of the product, when your banger...
Of their biomass that goes into it.
Dude, it just disappeared.
Yeah.
You can tell it's like the
It's a
5-star,
quality.
right? When you look at the 5-star, the burn rate over there, you know, what is it turning into? Does it look dark?
Or I have like nothing left.
Yeah,
over
it just
from Superboof.
disappears. Like you just put in a dry swab and it's clean.
Yeah.
I don't get that in my... I mean, after a while, your banger will start to develop in a little bit of brown in there just because of just the time. But I'll tell you, like, having a high quality hash is... You know,
yeah.
and
they're going to have hash makers there. So
yeah, that's going to be super cool.
it's going to be hella exciting. You guys can meet the hash makers who actually make the hash.
Yeah, we're going to be able to ask them a ton of questions. We'll be doing we got a lot of cool stuff on the live, but you know, kind of button this up. You know, for me right now, where I'm sitting at is that I don't see it as a war being waged on cannabis. It's war being waged on soft-minded individuals. Be curious. Look into it. Don't always take what they say as, hey, it's bad for you. These are the same people that said that carbohydrates need to be the number one food source in your life.
Yeah. Well,
They
it's like
created
ignorance
diabetes.
is bliss. But
Totally.
really, if you have a question, ask us,
Yeah.
research it, Google it, talk to ChatGPT. Like, there's a million ways to find
Totally.
out. If you
There's
have
no
questions.
excuse these days.
Yeah.
And that's what really frustrates me is that the media still keeps thinking that people are that fucking stupid. And the people who are trapped underneath that bias.
There are some.
Yeah, well, I mean, they are fucking stupid. But the thing is it's the only reason why is because they were either hard pressure and brought up by being institutionalized with fear of anything, right? Yet at the same time, you could see advertisements for alcohol, meaning that you could be number one if you just started drinking this shit.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. The proudest thing that I heard about from my son recently, his buddies were getting together. I mean, he just graduated high school and stuff, and his buddies wanted to get together, kind of get drunk for the weekend. And he's like, that's lame. They're like, why is that lame? He's like, it'd be better if you just smoked weed and not get into trouble. He's like, I don't know why you would want to mess your body up with that. He's like, that's straight poison.
Plus, you're
and
going to end up doing really stupid shit.
Yeah. But dude, the coolest thing, they go, well, have you ever drank it? He goes, no, and I'll never need to. He's like, I've learned a lot about
That's
cannabis.
cool.
Like, whatever his relationship with cannabis is his relationship with cannabis. You know, I'm not giving it to him. I'm not selling it to my son. But he respects the plant a lot. And he knows a lot based off of all of the time that we have spent learning and growing our knowledge. I mean, we're pretty knowledgeable about cannabis to this point. You listen to our first episode, especially Casey Jones, and I was saying Davy Jones. Remember that part?
That did make me chuckle.
Dude,
yeah.
I listened to that just a little while ago. And
Oh, really?
so funny, dude. We didn't do too bad. That's why our some of our number ones, our very first ones.
That's hilarious.
It is good to hear, but that's an 18-year-old man, right? Young man. But I'm getting ignorance from 50, 60, 30, 40-year-olds. And you're like, where is this coming from? You have information right here.
Right in front of you.
And it's so biased for you. Just dig a little past page 1 on Google. Like, really, don't just listen to what the mass media tells you, because there's a purpose, there's special interest behind that. Yeah. Why would they do that? What's the alternative that's coming out? And I think, this is conspiracy time,
let's hear it,
that they're trying to create another synthetic cannabinoid to take the place so that they can own the THC.
Well, there already is too.
I know, but I mean, I think that they're developing something to try and kill
There'll
it off.
be more. Yeah, because it'll be, pharma has this one, and they're all FDA approved and all through this, so you don't have to worry about it. But the problem you don't think about is, and I think about this more often because the whole not having Netflix without ads. So my Netflix has ads, and you know what I get a lot of? Alcohol and medications.
Oh, totally.
And yet, the one thing that basically, like, I see, the alcohol ones I just kind of chuckle at, and I'm like, that's really fucking stupid. I'm not going to drink your beer.
Dude, one of the best.
I used to love
I got to give you a link to put down
commercials.
there. The best alcohol commercial, Ray Liotta, who's an actor. He's dead now. Ray Liotta for 1800 tequila.
Okay.
It is motivational. It is inspirational. It is storytelling at its best.
Okay.
And at the end, you're like, dude, he's talking about you being a better person. And da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, whoa. And there's like this boxing match going on. And he's like in old Mexico. And there's this hot Latina. She's like, hey, do you want to come over?
And then it ends with 1800.
You want to get drunk on 1800 tequila? Come here, papi. And he comes over and he's like, what's going on, señorita? And all of a sudden at the end, he's just like, yeah, I'm the best because I drink 1800 tequila. And I'm like, good God, that was brilliant. That was brilliant. You make me want to drink it. And that's what I love about marketing.
Yeah.
But
the ones I've seen now,
they're
they don't
dumb?
do that. Yeah, they're dumb. And I'm like, you're not inspiring me to want to have a drink. But then I watch the medication ones, and everything that's produced that's FDA approved comes with a long list of side effects,
Horrible
including like leaky butthole, loss of friends, loss of kidney, loss of left eye, your left testicle turns into a boob, like all of these things, and you're like, possible death. What?
Yeah.
But I could use cannabis. No, you don't want to do that because like you might kill some brain cells.
Inverted erection syndrome.
Yeah.
Like your penis just goes inside you.
And you're like, what in the world?
Like, what?
But yeah, there's this list of medications. Like,
What does it help with? Eczema.
Yeah.
You're like, what?
That's exactly. Now with Epglis, and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, I know, right?
Like, oh my god.
It's going to finally turn into like they're really desperate and they're thinking like the generation younger, and all the medications are going to be in cereal. And they're just going to be like,
Just
oh,
add
yeah.
milk.
Yeah, just add milk. Oh, this is amazing. I love eating my Zoloft every morning.
It's like the Rick and Morty future episode where everyone's eating pills and the world's run by robots and the robots do all the real jobs. And so Jerry's
Coming
like
soon.
Jerry's like the head of one of the governments because it's Jerry.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, yeah, you're bringing down like a 5-pill chewable salary or something. It's like, okay.
Well, dude, it's like this thing. Like I use a GLP-1, which is like Ozempic, trizepatide, bunch of different ones. Okay, but the thing is that medication is going at extremely high doses for people, and they say it's the minimum. And you're watching like these celebrities.
Oh yeah, the
turning
Ozempic
into
phase.
ghouls.
Yeah.
It's sad.
It is because it literally looks like they're concentration camp survivors. And I'm like, this is horrendous. Why would you do that to yourself?
Dude, the way they always talk about it, it's like freedom and stuff like that, which I get. But you know what they should have it going, feeling like a fat fuck? Well, here, now you got a shot to get rid of that fat fuckness. And you were like, if I heard a commercial like that and I felt like a fat fuck, I'd be like, you know what? I am sick of being a fat fuck. But they dress it up as life-changing.
But it's
look
always
at these...
the celebrities who are not big to begin with.
Dude, they look like the cast from Fallout.
Yeah, it looks horrible.
They like
I like
Sharon
Fallout.
Osbourne.
That was like hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Looks like fucking Rango. I mean, dude, it's bad. And it's, you know, where people go, oh, well, there's nothing out there. There's a lot out there. There's a lot out there. You know, honestly, I tell people that have a problem with obesity, I'm like, smoke weed. It's already proven
like, oh, I'll get
to lower your
I'll
BMI.
get munchies and
Nope.
you could
make good decisions.
Yeah, well, but that's their problem is making good decisions.
That's why they're in the
sometimes.
predicament they're in. I was a fat fuck for a long time.
Honestly, I have a crazy metabolism, but I always ate whatever I wanted. And it hasn't been until the last handful of years that I've started to realize a lot more stuff. And even like the stuff that's like you eat your food like medicine or you eat your medicine like food. It's, you know, we have life harder when we're young if we want life easier when we're old. Like we work harder, we go to the gym, we do these things so our bodies don't hurt, so we have money, so we have all these things that it's like, you know, we do things so that we can have things certain ways, but then we don't always do it. It's just looking at it going, oh shoot, that's probably a better approach so that I don't have more pain later. It's like the Dalai Lama, The Art of Happiness, but going into it of like, life is suffering, like everyone suffers. And throughout our life, the theme and pattern is probably suffering filled with moments of joy and like overwhelming happiness and stuff. But like overall, like I live with chronic pain. Every single moment of every day has but there's so much beauty and joy to be found in the present moment, in like colors in nature, in connection and stuff that you lose when we focus on our suffering and on all of that.
Truly. And it's hard not to get caught in that trap. And every single one of us will get caught in it. There's not one person that will not get caught in that.
Oh, yeah.
But, that's one of the things that I really like about, and this is to talk about how THC affects, like, recently I had a conversation with Brandon about, how I had realized a lot of the things that I was doing that were not harmonious with other people. And where I pledge and I talk about, connection before anything else. And yet I was being not necessarily just hypocritical, but I was very unaware of what I was doing and how cannabis was able to take tropical runts, which is what we're smoking right now. Tropical runts, like that strain for me is very introspective. I was able to take 20 years of shit and explain to my wife why I've been acting a certain way. And I didn't have that clarity 20 minutes before. I was arrogant. I wanted to be right. I got research to back my fucking claims. And I was spiraling. Where the cannabis, which is at a percentage of 20 to 25%, was the right dose. So I'm thinking like the higher percentages on THC don't necessarily mean it's going to be more harmful. Yes, there needs to be more education. You are selling a product to somebody who has a instruction booklet. No, there needs to be more educational content like what we do, but on top of it, even more in depth or spoken plainly, like Sesame Street. That's a fun idea, by the way. We should totally do it with fucking puppets. Yeah, dude, we got to do that.
Muppets.
If you guys know of anybody who does puppets and stuff, get in touch with us. Anyways, we would love to do a whole skits with puppets. Just look like Brandon and Jet. That would be hilarious. That would be like the ones with the hands that go like this. Like, oh, dude. Anyways, but to come back to it, like, yes, the percentages may have been lower then, but we don't know truly. They could have been much higher. The reason why we see the percentages going up is that the testing quality had gone up. So,
well, also, it could have been less time to degrade.
Yep.
It could have been all of these
who
factors.
grew it?
Yeah.
What did they grow? Because they didn't put the amount of
just because it
care.
was confiscated in a specific time doesn't mean that grower was even as good of a grower as this other one. And so
it was a commonly used harmonious plant.
Well, that's kind of you think about it, it's kind of a ludicrous data set to even compile, because if I go to like even one dispensary, the difference in quality of bud, it ranges so drastically that to select even a handful of nugs could go, oh, well, this was what it was. Well, but maybe not, because you misconstrued the data, because if you looked at this one, it was actually way higher.
Yeah.
So again, like it's a very weird data set, but that's the thing that I always asked in the comments on that post was, if you have data, show it. I would love to see it. Would love to see it, because the only data that can be found is that it was really low and it's kind of trickled up and we're a lot higher percentage now. But again, that doesn't mean the experience wasn't great or that you didn't have a really good high or have all this stuff way back then. It just means maybe there might be a difference in percentages, because our focus and push now is to try and push to get a slightly higher THC percentage. And that's it.
Exactly. And talking back to those who were consuming cannabis in the 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever, and they take it now and they're like, whoa, this is so strong compared to that. They are a tourist in cannabis now, where they're not actually
using it. Or they don't even touch it. Yeah.
They barely touch it, because guess what happens when you smoke anything that you haven't touched in a long time?
You get really fucking high.
There's no...
I know, right?
If you went without weed for 3 months, Brandon, and you came back, and the first thing I greeted you with off the plane was in the car, it was this thing, and I'm like, bro, we got that, and I've got about half a pound in the back for you. Just go crazy, right? Brandon wouldn't even be able to get a quarter of that bowl. No. He'd be fucking stoned out of his mind. So for those who are speaking as an authority from that time...
days.
Right?
Those were beautiful days.
I still feel good on it. It just isn't the same as taking 2 hours to mow a lawn that's the size of most people's front lawn. Like, I mean, you know, because it was great.
That's a hell of a task.
Yeah, but now I could mow my lawn in 40 minutes higher than a kite, and I'll be like, perfect lines.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, if you're speaking from a place where you don't have a lot of experience in it, just, you know, get more acclimated to what is available now. Learn a little bit more about terpenes. You didn't give a shit about that then.
Get CBD, get high in CBD or CBG strains if you can.
Start learning really about that CBG.
Low and slow, have lemon juice on hand. Like, there's so many ways that you can try and make your experience
There's no excuse not to have a good experience on cannabis, or at least have an exit plan.
Yeah, have a better experience than you might have, because not every strain might be the best experience. And if you are new to it, consuming another strain might not be the best option for you if you're already very high.
Get more information on that strain as much as, you know, guys, I mean, we tell you we got so many things working. We put a lot of time in it. We have a team of developers that we've been working with to develop something like that, so you can have that on hand as a resource for certain things like that. Awesome strain journal that goes there, so it starts to work within AI to be able to sell you, like, recommend strains based off of the ones you've been using.
Help find you stuff that helps you.
Dude, and we just were thinking, like, this would be so cool to be able to offer, and we're totally down. I mean, and it's
in the workings.
Yeah, it's in the workings, and it's going to be free.
Yep.
We want you guys to have a far more edge, because you know what it's going to do, man? All these percentage talks and stuff like this 10, 15 years from now are going to be a thing of the past. We're going to have amazing weed at that time, because these kids that are growing up are starting to figure it out. Less kids are drinking these days.
Oh, yeah. I've been really happy with it. And I haven't read the actual physical data, but at least, like, there's a lot of headlines that are pushing out that kids are drinking less. But I also wonder if that's why I see so many ads for alcohol, is to push more into that. Because
they're trying. It was like big tobacco.
I didn't see as many. And granted, I haven't watched commercials for ages, but, like, there was a time that I didn't see, like, Super Bowl time, obviously beer commercials and stuff, but, like, majority, there wasn't a lot of alcohol commercials.
I was growing up, I saw a lot of alcohol commercials.
Really? When you were younger, or like?
Well, I had unfettered access to my TV after school. I
feel like there's one more in there.
Wham!
Right. I did too.
I had unfettered access, but
during school.
Yeah, no, but no, like at
office.
nighttime. Like, that's when all the ads would come on. You'd see some, like, cop show, and my parents would watch everything, and if we watched with them, cool. Like, that was literally the only family time that we really spent. We did other family things. I'm just saying that was the majority of the time. Very Americana. But to think about from then to now, I lost what I was going to say. What was it? What were we talking about right there before you started sneezing?
God, I didn't remember those sneezes. It kind of took me for a loop.
Anyways, let's go back to that. See? But the thing that you're looking at, this is what I wanted to get back earlier. So thank you for that, for resetting my tangent, because this weed is amazing.
Thanks.
Causation doesn't mean correlation. What does that mean? It means that just because certain symptoms and things have happened for other people, such as heart attack, stroke, anxiety attacks, heart murmur, stuff like that, it's typically something else that's underlining it's a medical condition with that person. So if you have hypertension, get checked out. Talk to somebody who actually knows about cannabis, and that one probably going to point you more to, like, tinctures that are like 1 to 20 or whatever, like really like minimal THC dosing to slowly build you up, so you can go, okay, because
titrate your dose so you don't go into the really high experiences.
So you want the benefits, right? You enjoy the high, but if you are not a person who consumes, you're thinking about, like, you've got your very conservative people or you've got your elderly people. Actually, I find more elderly people are way more open to cannabis than ever before. I don't think I've ever been told by an older person, they go, I had a guy come up to me in my neighborhood and he's like, hey, I know you're all about cannabis. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, my mom and my sisters all died of dementia. Yeah. Does this help? And I'm like, yeah, anecdotally, yes. And I was like, but it's a nice lubricant. It's like medicine. It's like vitamins. If you take it, it can help. And he's like, yeah, I need to talk about that. Devout LDS guy, all that stuff. And yet, even inside this church, they're super against it.
Yeah, for
Some.
sure.
And that's
but then we meet like the episode we had with Barry, who was even using it before it was ever legal and stuff here for a decade, and I think that's beautiful when people can find that, or even the Wimmer's grandma who had cancer 20 years ago here, and she used cannabis. That was ages ago, long before it was ever legal or even remotely considered legal here. And so there is some people who have found that like exception of, hey, this is value or medicine for this person I love in this specific moment, but then shun it in so many others.
Honestly, it really comes down to, guys, is that it's having conversations like what we're having right now. Being open about it, saying, what is going on about it, instead of just believing a hype. And my wife is a prime example of being grown up and being very closed-minded because the parents are trying to protect their children.
Well, it's the mindset that was taught.
It was, but now I think that bleeds over where they're like concerned about it. My wife is less concerned of my kids ever using cannabis, and she's also less concerned that they'll ever use alcohol. And I'm big on that. I'm very against alcohol now. I lost a very, very close and dear friend to alcohol. I've got family members who are alcoholics. That scares me. But everybody's all worried about me smoking weed. And I'm like, dude, I'm healthier than the rest of you motherfuckers. Like it's and just because like you look at somebody who seems healthy, this is for body and mind and spirit. For me, that's what cannabis does. So don't just think that it's about sleep and all that stuff. I guarantee a lot of us are out of balance. And sometimes you just need to gain some perspective. And the Green Queen here, man.
Tropical Runs. Sweet little miss.
But any of them, and that's why there's so many of them out there.
Oh, I just meant today.
Oh, dude, this is brilliant. Very cotton-mouthy.
I know.
But not clicky cotton mouth. Yeah. Like, my lips feel like they're all like dried and crack from the Sahara when they totally don't look like that. But that's the way they feel. No, this has been an awesome convo, bro, because yesterday, I think that the funniest thing was out of it, and this is a quote from our friend Nareth. I loved it. He's like, so you're telling me that you want to lower the percentage on the quality of the efficacy of cannabis. You wouldn't do that to pain pills. You wouldn't go over there going, hey, that pain pill, I only want it to be about 80% effective.
Yeah. I don't care what the other 20% of stuff that you add in there is, but
flour, whatever.
Just lower it. I don't need it to be as strong.
This is like, that's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. You know how to do that? Learn dosing.
Yeah.
Learn
just like
dosing.
Every other fucking medicine.
Dude, it's not like, how much weed did you take? A handful. Okay. Don't trust that guy. Yeah. But going, hey, well, how much weed did you take? I don't know. It depends. What time of day is it? What have I done today? What's my diet going on? What's my mental health like?
Yeah.
So be more aware of that. The percentages, don't let the percentages scare you. Ultimately, you're the one who allows it into your own body. So go low and slow.
Yeah, as we always preach. And tune in next week.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Take care.